Stop everything, right now. Whatever you were doing, whoever you were thinking about, whatever plans you were making, pause. This isn't a message you stumble upon by accident. This isn't content designed to entertain you or make you feel temporarily inspired. This is an urgent transmission, a warning wrapped in love, a clarification you need before the window closes. I am Michael, and I don't speak to create fear. I speak to create awakening. And right now, you need to wake up to something you've been avoiding, something you've been sensing but haven't wanted to face. Time is shorter than you think. Not your lifespan necessarily, though none of us know that number. I'm talking about the time you have to make certain decisions, to align with certain pathways, to step into what you were created for before the opportunity recalibrates. There are seasons in the spiritual realm, windows that open and windows that close, and you're in one of those decisive moments right now. What you do next, the choices you make in the coming days and weeks, they will set trajectories that echo for years. And I need you to understand the weight of this moment without being paralyzed by it, because the weight isn't meant to crush you. It's meant to focus you. You've been coasting. You've been waiting. You've been telling yourself that you have time to figure it out, time to heal completely before you move, time to wait for perfect clarity before you act. And while you've been waiting, opportunities have been passing. Doors have been quietly swinging shut. Connections that were meant to form have moved on to others. Assignments that had your name on them have been redistributed because you didn't respond when you were called. This isn't condemnation. This is information. Information you need to course correct right now, today, before this moment passes, and you find yourself a year from now wondering why nothing shifted, why you feel stuck in the same place, asking the same questions. Let me tell you what I see when I look at your life right now. I see potential locked behind hesitation. I see gifts that aren't being used because you're waiting to feel more ready, more qualified, more healed. I see doors standing open that you're not walking through because you're overanalyzing, overthinking, waiting for some cosmic sign that's already been given multiple times in multiple ways. The sign was your discomfort with where you are. The sign was the restlessness that won't go away no matter how much you try to settle into your current reality. The sign was the dream that keeps resurfacing, the idea that won't leave you alone, the pull toward something you keep dismissing as impractical or impossible. Those aren't random thoughts. Those are assignments trying to get your attention. And there's a time limit. Not because heaven is impatient with you, but because timing matters in the spiritual ecosystem. There are alignments, convergences, moments when multiple factors come together to create an opening. And those moments don't last forever. When they pass, it's not that you'll never get another opportunity. It's that the next opportunity will look different, require different preparation, take a different route. And you'll have lost time. You'll have to rebuild momentum. You'll wonder what would have happened if you had just moved when you first felt the prompting. I know you've been hurt. I know you've been disappointed. I know there were times you stepped out in faith, and it didn't go the way you expected, and that created a cautiousness in you that wasn't there before. You used to be more spontaneous, more willing to take risks, more quick to say yes. But after being burned, after being let down, after investing in things that didn't pan out, you became more careful, more skeptical, more protective of your energy and resources. And that protection has served a purpose. It kept you from being exploited. It kept you from repeating certain mistakes. But now it's doing something else. It's keeping you safe, but it's also keeping you small. It's preventing pain, but it's also preventing growth. And you've reached a point where the cost of staying protected is higher than the risk of being vulnerable again. This is what you need to hear clearly. You cannot wait until you feel completely safe to move forward. Safety is not the goal, alignment is. And sometimes alignment requires stepping into situations where you're not in complete control, where you can't see the full picture, where you have to trust the process, even though the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's faith. That's what separates those who fulfill their purpose from those who spend their whole lives preparing to fulfill it. You've been in preparation long enough. You've done the inner work. You've processed the trauma. You've learned the lessons. You've grown in ways you don't even fully recognize yet. And while there will always be more healing available, more growth possible, more refinement needed, you don't have to be perfect to start. You don't have to be fully healed to be useful. You don't have to have it all figured out to take the first step. What you do need is willingness and a decision to stop waiting and start walking, not recklessly, not without wisdom, but with a commitment that says, I'm done sitting on the sidelines of my own life. I'm done watching others do what I know I'm capable of. I'm done making excuses for why now isn't the right time. Because here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be a moment where all conditions are ideal, all fears are resolved, all questions are answered. If you wait for that, you'll wait forever. The right time is when you feel the pull and you respond to it, even imperfectly, even messily, even while still figuring it out. Now let me tell you what's at stake. I need you to understand what you're risking by continuing to delay. It's not just about you. It's about everyone your purpose is meant to impact. There are people who need what you carry. People who are waiting for the message, the product, the service, the presence that only you can provide. And every day you delay is a day they continue without what could have helped them. You think your work is just about you, your success, your fulfillment. It's not. It's about assignment. It's about service. It's about being a steward of what you've been given and using it for something beyond yourself. And when you hoard your gifts out of fear, when you bury your talents because you're not sure you're ready, you're not just limiting yourself. You're limiting everyone connected to your purpose. That's the weight of this moment. That's why time matters, because your delay has a ripple effect you can't see. And I'm here to make you aware of it, so you stop treating your calling like a hobby you'll get to eventually and start treating it like the sacred responsibility it is. In the next section, I'm going to show you exactly what's been blocking you from moving, the specific fears and false beliefs that have kept you paralyzed, and how to dismantle them right now. Don't go anywhere. This is essential. There's a lie you've been believing that's kept you stuck longer than anything else. It's subtle, it's convincing, it sounds like wisdom, but it's a trap. The lie is this: I need to be further along before I can start. You've told yourself you need more education, more experience, more healing, more clarity, more resources, more connections. And while growth is always valuable, you've turned the pursuit of readiness into a form of procrastination. You've used self-improvement as an excuse to avoid taking action. Because as long as you're still preparing, you don't have to risk failing. As long as you're still learning, you don't have to face the vulnerability of actually doing. It feels productive to take another course, read another book, attend another seminar. It feels like you're making progress. But if that learning never translates into action, it's not progress. It's delay dressed up in spiritual language. And you know this. You know you've been stalling. You know you've been hiding behind preparation because actually stepping out would expose you, would make you visible, would open you up to criticism, rejection, failure. And those possibilities terrify you more than you've admitted. But here's what you need to understand. The fear of failure is actually fear of being seen as insufficient. Fear of confirmation that maybe you're not who you thought you were. Fear that if you try and it doesn't work, it means something fundamental about your worth. And that fear is based on a false equation. Your worth is not determined by your outcomes. Your value isn't contingent on your success. You are already worthy, already valuable, already enough, completely independent of what you achieve or don't achieve. That's not motivational talk. That's spiritual truth. You are worthy because you exist, because you were created intentionally, because there's a purpose encoded in your being that no failure can erase. Once you really get that, once that truth moves from your head to your heart, the fear of failure loses its power. because failure stops being an indictment of who you are and becomes simply information about what didn't work, information you can use to adjust and try again. But you'll never get that information if you never try. You'll never know what's possible if you never test it. You'll never develop the resilience that comes from falling and getting back up if you never risk falling in the first place. So the fear that's protecting you is also imprisoning you. And it's time to name it and release it. Another block that's been operating in you is the need for certainty. You want to know it's going to work before you start. You want guarantees. You want to see the full path before you take the first step, and that's not how faith works. Faith is action in the face of uncertainty. Faith is moving forward when you can only see the next step, trusting that the step after that will be revealed when you need it. You've been waiting for a detailed roadmap, a complete blueprint, a guarantee of success. And heaven doesn't operate that way. What you get is a prompting, a sense of direction, a next step. And when you take that step, the next one appears. It's always been this way, and it always will be. So your need for certainty is actually a barrier to faith. It's saying, I'll trust you, God, but only if you show me everything first. And that's not trust, that's control. Real trust is saying, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I sense I'm supposed to move, so I'm moving. That's the kind of faith that unlocks miracles. That's the kind of trust that heaven responds to. Not because you have to earn divine support, but because that posture of surrender creates the space for intervention. When you're trying to control everything, figure everything out, manage every risk, you leave no room for grace. You leave no room for supernatural assistance. You're operating in your own strength, your own wisdom, your own resources, and those are limited. But when you step out beyond what you can manage, when you take a risk that requires help beyond yourself, you create space for heaven to show up. And heaven will, every single time. Not always in the way you expect, not always on your timeline, but faithfully, consistently, powerfully. I also need to address the comparison trap you've been caught in. You've been watching what others are doing, how far along they seem to be, how much they've accomplished, and you've been measuring yourself against them. And in that comparison, you've found yourself lacking. They seem more talented, more polished, more connected, more successful. And you've used that observation to justify staying hidden. If I'm not at their level, why bother? If I can't do it as well as them, what's the point? Here's what you're missing. You're not called to their assignment, you're called to yours. And your assignment doesn't require you to be them. It requires you to be you, fully, authentically, unapologetically. There are people who will never resonate with the person you're comparing yourself to, but they will resonate with you. Your story, your voice, your perspective, your approach, it's for them. And when you hide because you don't measure up to someone else's expression, you're depriving those people of what they need. You're also assuming that what you see in others is the full picture. You see their highlight reel, their polished presentation, their success. You don't see their struggles, their failures, their moments of doubt. You don't see how many times they almost quit. You don't see the years of obscurity before the breakthrough. You're comparing your beginning to their middle, and that comparison is unfair and inaccurate. Everyone successful you admire started where you are now, uncertain, inexperienced, afraid. The only difference between them and you is they started anyway. They moved despite the fear. They put their work out there before it was perfect. They risked looking foolish, being criticized, failing publicly. And in doing so, they learned, they grew, they improved. And eventually, they became the people you now admire. You have that same potential. You have that same capacity, but you have to start. You have to be willing to be a beginner. You have to be willing to create imperfectly, to fail forward, to learn in public. That's the only way. There is no secret shortcut. There is no way to skip the awkward early stage. Everyone goes through it. The only question is, will you? Or will you stay on the sidelines critiquing others, wishing you had what they have, never realizing you could have it too if you just started? Let me tell you what's going to happen if you don't change course now. If you continue as you have been, waiting for perfect conditions, waiting to feel completely ready, waiting for certainty before you move, a year from now, you'll be in essentially the same place. Maybe a little older, maybe a little more tired, maybe a little more resigned. You'll have more knowledge from the books you read and the content you consumed, but you won't have more experience. You won't have more results. You won't have moved meaningfully toward your purpose. And the regret you feel now, that whisper that says you should be further along, that will have grown into a louder voice. That voice of regret that says you wasted time, that you let opportunities pass, that you played it too safe for too long. And from that place of regret, it becomes even harder to start. Because now you're not just fighting fear and uncertainty. You're fighting the weight of time lost, the burden of should-haves, the grief of what could have been. Don't do that to yourself. Don't let future you look back at today with disappointment. Let future you look back with gratitude that this was the day you finally decided to move. This was the moment everything changed. Not because circumstances became perfect, but because you became willing. I'm going to tell you in the next part exactly what to do, the specific steps to take right now, and how to build momentum that becomes unstoppable. Stay with me. This is where it gets practical. Here's what most people don't understand about momentum. It's not built through massive action. It's built through consistent small steps. You're waiting to feel motivated enough to make a huge leap. But motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. You take one small step, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't see how it matters. And that step creates a tiny bit of momentum. Then you take another step, and the momentum increases, then another. And before you know it, you're moving forward with a force that carries you through the resistance, through the doubt, through the days you don't feel like continuing. But it starts with one step. Today, right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready. Now, so let me give you that first step. And I need you to actually do it, not just read about it and file it away as something you'll get to eventually. The first step is this. Identify the one thing you've been avoiding because it feels too vulnerable, too risky, too exposing. It's the thing that when you think about doing it, your stomach tightens. Your mind immediately starts generating reasons why it's not a good idea, why the timing is off, why you need to wait. That's the thing. That's your first step. It might be having a conversation you've been putting off. It might be starting a project you've been planning forever, but never beginning. It might be applying for something you don't feel qualified for. It might be sharing your work publicly for the first time. It might be setting a boundary you've been too afraid to set. It might be walking away from something that's been draining you. Whatever it is, you know what it is. You've known for a while. You've just been avoiding it. And today, that avoidance ends. You're going to commit to doing that thing within the next 48 hours, not thinking about it more, not preparing more, not waiting for a better time, doing it, imperfectly, messily, scared. But doing it, because action is the antidote to anxiety. Movement is the answer to stagnation, and you've been stuck long enough. When you take that step, something shifts in the spiritual realm. Doors that were waiting for your obedience swing open. People who were meant to connect with you suddenly appear. Resources that were being held back start flowing. Not as a reward for your action, but as a natural consequence of alignment. The universe responds to movement. Heaven backs action, but nothing can support you when you're standing still. Now, here's the second thing you need to do. You need to create structure around your purpose. Not rigid, suffocating structure, but enough framework that your intentions don't remain abstract wishes. You need to decide when you're going to work on this. What specific time blocks in your week are dedicated to moving forward? Not when you feel inspired, not when you have free time. Scheduled, protected time that's non-negotiable. Because if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. If you leave it to chance, to whenever you have energy, to someday, it will never happen. Life will fill every unprotected moment with urgent but unimportant tasks. You'll always be busy, but never moving toward what matters. So you decide right now, what days, what times, how much time. Even if it's just 30 minutes 3 times a week, that's enough to start. That's enough to build momentum. And you protect that time like it's a sacred appointment, because it is. It's an appointment with your purpose, an appointment with your future, an appointment with the person you're becoming. And when that time comes, you show up, even if you don't feel like it. Even if you don't know exactly what to do, you show up and you do something, anything, that moves you forward. You write one paragraph, you make one call, you research one thing. You practice one skill, you take one step, and the next time you do it again and again, and the compound effect of those small, consistent actions will astound you. 6 months from now, you'll look back and barely recognize the distance you've covered, but only if you start now, only if you stop waiting and start walking. The third thing you need to do is find or create accountability. You need someone who knows what you're committing to, who will check in on you, who will call you out when you're making excuses. Not someone who will judge you or shame you, but someone who will lovingly hold you to what you said you wanted. This could be a friend, a mentor, a coach, a group. But it needs to be someone external, because your own mind will convince you that it's okay to quit, that you had good reasons, that you'll start again next week. And without external accountability, you'll believe it. We're all masterful at self-deception, at convincing ourselves that our excuses are valid. An outside perspective disrupts that pattern. So identify who that person or group is, and within the next 48 hours, tell them what you're committing to. Make it real by speaking it out loud to someone else. That act of declaring your intention externally increases your likelihood of follow through exponentially. Now let me address something that might be happening inside you right now. You might be feeling overwhelmed. You might be thinking, this is too much. I can't do all of this. I'm already exhausted. I don't have the energy for more. If that's what you're feeling, take a breath. You're not being asked to do everything perfectly. You're not being asked to overhaul your entire life overnight. You're being asked to start. To take one step, to create one block of time, to tell one person, that's it. That's all that's required right now. And when you do those things, the next steps will become clear. You'll build capacity as you go. You'll find energy you didn't know you had. You'll discover that movement creates energy rather than depleting it. Stagnation is what drains you. Avoiding your purpose is what exhausts you, because you're carrying the weight of unfulfilled potential, and that's one of the heaviest burdens there is. When you start moving toward your purpose, even in small ways, that weight begins to lift. You feel lighter, more alive, more yourself, and that feeling fuels further action. It becomes a positive cycle instead of the negative cycle you've been in. But you have to disrupt the current pattern. You have to interrupt the cycle of waiting and overthinking and preparing endlessly. And the only way to do that is through action. Imperfect, scared, uncertain action. Let me also tell you what's going to try to stop you in the next few days. The moment you commit to this, the moment you take that first step, resistance will intensify. You'll suddenly have unexpected obstacles appear. Technology will malfunction, people will need you, emergencies will arise, you'll get sick, you'll feel more tired than usual. This isn't coincidence. This is spiritual resistance, and it's actually a good sign. It means you're moving towards something significant. The enemy doesn't bother attacking people who aren't a threat. If you were going to stay stuck, there'd be no need to interfere. The fact that resistance shows up when you start moving confirms you're on the right path. So when it happens, and it will, recognize it for what it is. Don't interpret it as a sign you're not supposed to move forward. Interpret it as confirmation that you are, and push through it. Not by muscling through with sheer willpower alone, but by calling on the strength that's available to you, by praying, by asking for help, by remembering why this matters. The resistance will test your commitment. And if you pass the test, if you keep moving despite the obstacles, the resistance eventually gives way. It doesn't have infinite strength. It's counting on you to quit. And when you don't, when you persist, it has to back down. That's how this works. In the next section, I'm going to show you what life looks like on the other side of this decision, what changes when you stop waiting and start walking, and why the time you have left to make this choice is shorter than you realize. Don't stop now. When you finally stop waiting and start moving, when you take that first step, and then the next, and then the next, something fundamental shifts in your reality. It's not that everything suddenly becomes easy. It's that you become someone who moves through difficulty instead of being stopped by it. You develop a different relationship with obstacles. They become challenges to navigate, not reasons to quit. And that shift in perspective changes everything. You start to notice opportunities you couldn't see before because you weren't looking. You were too focused on all the reasons things wouldn't work. But when you're in motion, when you're actively engaged with your purpose, your awareness expands. You see connections, possibilities, pathways that were invisible when you were stuck. It's like when you're thinking about buying a certain car, and suddenly you see that car everywhere. It's not that there are suddenly more of them. It's that your attention is tuned to notice them. When you commit to your purpose and start taking action, you become tuned to opportunities related to that purpose, and they appear everywhere. A conversation with a stranger that leads to a connection you needed. An article that shows up in your feed with exactly the information you were looking for. A circumstance that seems random but positions you perfectly for the next step. You'll start to experience what some call synchronicity, what others call divine orchestration. The right people, resources, and situations aligning in ways that feel almost magical. But it's not magic, it's alignment. It's what happens when you're moving in your lane, doing what you're meant to do. The universe, God, source, whatever language resonates with you, supports that movement. Not because you're special, but because you're aligned. And alignment attracts support. Your relationships will also shift. Some people won't understand your new focus. They'll want you to stay the same, to remain available in the same ways, to continue being who they've known. And when you can't, when you have to protect your time and energy for what matters most, some of them will be confused or even upset. Let them. You're not responsible for managing their reactions to your growth. You're responsible for honoring your calling. And the people who are meant to be in your life for this season will adjust. They'll support your evolution even if it inconveniences them. The ones who can't or won't, they'll naturally drift away. And that's okay. It's not rejection, it's realignment. Your energy is changing frequency, and not everyone can match the new frequency. That's not judgment. That's just reality. But here's the beautiful part. As some relationships fade, new ones emerge. People who are on a similar path, who understand your commitment, who challenge you to keep growing. People who add to your life instead of draining from it. These connections feel different, easier, more authentic, less effortful, because they're based on who you're becoming, not who you used to be. You'll also notice your internal dialogue changing. The voice that used to constantly criticize, doubt, and question you starts to quiet. Not because you've achieved perfection, but because you're proving to yourself through action that you're capable, that you can do hard things, that you can keep commitments to yourself. And every time you honor a commitment you've made to yourself, your self-trust increases, your confidence builds. Not the fake, inflated confidence of arrogance, the real, grounded confidence of someone who's tested themselves and knows they can handle what comes. This internal shift might be the most significant change of all, because when you trust yourself, when you believe in your own capacity, the external circumstances matter less. You're not thrown by setbacks because you know you'll figure it out. You're not devastated by criticism because you're not looking for external validation of your worth. You're not paralyzed by uncertainty because you've learned to take the next step even when you can't see the whole path. That's freedom. That's power. And it's available to you right now, on the other side of the decision to stop waiting. But I need to be honest with you about something. The window for certain opportunities is closing. Not because I'm trying to manipulate you with false urgency, but because it's true. There are alignments happening right now, convergences of timing and circumstance that won't be available later. Not because heaven is punishing delay, but because the spiritual ecosystem moves. Seasons change. What's possible now won't be possible in the same way next year. You'll have different opportunities then, but they won't be these opportunities. And these opportunities, the ones in front of you right now, they're specifically designed for who you are at this moment. They match your current capacity, your current resources, your current level of preparation. If you wait, if you continue delaying, by the time you finally move, these particular doors will have closed. And you'll have to find different doors, which will require different preparation, different resources, different timing. You'll get there eventually, but you'll have taken a longer route than necessary. You'll have added years to your journey that didn't have to be there. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you looking back with regret, wishing you had listened to the prompting you're feeling right now, wishing you had moved when you first felt the call. So let me be direct. You have weeks, not years, to respond to what's in front of you right now. Not weeks to complete everything, but weeks to initiate, to start. To take the first steps that signal to heaven and to yourself that you're serious, that you're not just thinking about it anymore, that you're doing it. Within the next 30 days, you need to have taken tangible action toward your purpose, not just internal work, not just more planning, actual external movement. Something that exists outside your own mind, something others can see, something that proves this wasn't just another inspirational moment that faded when the emotion wore off. What that action looks like will be specific to you and your calling, but you know what it is. You've known. And you've been avoiding it because it's scary, because it makes you vulnerable, because it requires you to be seen before you feel ready. Do it anyway. Do it scared. Do it imperfectly. Do it while you're still figuring it out, because the cost of not doing it is too high. The cost is your purpose remaining dormant, your gifts staying buried, your impact being limited to a fraction of what it could be, and that cost compounds over time. Every day you delay isn't just one day lost. It's one day where you could have been building momentum, learning lessons, making progress. And those days add up to weeks, months, years. Before you know it, a decade has passed, and you're still in essentially the same place, still waiting to feel ready, still planning to start someday. I cannot let you do that to yourself. I won't watch you waste the time you've been given without at least making you aware of what's happening, what's at stake, what you're risking by continuing to wait. So here's what I need from you. I need you to make a decision right now, not tomorrow, not after you think about it more, right now. Are you going to move, or are you going to stay stuck? Are you going to honor the calling you feel, or are you going to keep ignoring it? Are you going to step into the discomfort of growth, or are you going to choose the familiarity of stagnation? This is the moment, this is the choice, and it will determine the trajectory of your next season. Choose movement, choose growth, choose courage, choose your purpose over your comfort. And watch what heaven does with that choice. In the final part, I'm going to give you a specific declaration to make, a way to seal this commitment, and what to expect in the immediate aftermath of your decision. Stay with me to the end. There's a way to anchor a spiritual decision, so it doesn't just remain a good intention that fades with time. It's through declaration, through speaking out loud what you're committing to, giving language to the internal shift. Words have power. They create, they establish, they make the invisible visible. And right now, you need to declare what you're choosing, not to convince anyone else, not to make promises you're not sure you can keep, but to establish agreement between your spirit and your words, between your intention and your action. So I'm going to give you words to speak. You can say them out loud if you're alone. You can whisper them if you're not. You can speak them in your mind if necessary. But you need to speak them with intention, with seriousness, with full awareness that you're entering into agreement with heaven about your purpose. Here are the words. I will not waste any more time. I will not hide any longer behind fear or perfectionism. I will not delay what I know I'm meant to do. I am ready to move, even imperfectly, even scared, even uncertain. I am ready to be seen, to be vulnerable, to risk failure for the sake of my purpose. I commit to taking action within the next 48 hours. I commit to creating structure around my calling. I commit to finding accountability. I release the need to have everything figured out. I release the need to be further along than I am. I release comparison to others. I trust that I have what I need for the next step. I trust that when I move, heaven moves with me. I trust that I am not alone in this. I declare that this is the moment everything changes. Not because circumstances are perfect, but because I am willing. I seal this decision with my words. I anchor this commitment with my declaration. I step forward now. Speak those words. Let them settle into your spirit. Let them become a stake in the ground that marks this moment as significant as the turning point. Now, let me tell you what to expect after you make this commitment. First, you're going to feel a sense of relief. Even before anything external changes, there will be an internal lightness. It's the relief of finally deciding, of finally stopping the exhausting mental loop of should I or shouldn't I. Decision brings peace even when the decision is hard, because it ends the torture of ambivalence. You'll feel that in the next few hours. Second, within the next 24 to 48 hours, you're going to face a test. Something will happen that seems to contradict your decision, that makes it look like you made the wrong choice. An obstacle will appear, a doubt will resurface, a person will say something discouraging. This is the test of your resolve. Don't interpret it as a sign you're on the wrong path. Interpret it as confirmation you're on the right one. Resistance always shows up when you're moving towards something that matters. Push through it. Remind yourself of the declaration you made. Remember this moment, this clarity, and keep moving. Third, within the next week, you're going to experience a confirmation. It might be subtle, an unexpected encouragement, a small opportunity, a sense of peace about your decision, a synchronistic event that feels like a wink from heaven. Pay attention, receive it, let it strengthen your resolve. Because you'll need that strength for the longer journey ahead. This isn't a sprint, this is a marathon. And there will be moments when you're tired, when you doubt, when you want to quit. In those moments, come back to this. Come back to the decision you made today. Come back to the declaration you spoke. Come back to the commitment you entered into. Let it anchor you when emotions try to pull you off course. Now let me speak to what's going to unfold in the coming weeks and months as you stay consistent with this commitment. You're going to start seeing results, not overnight success, not viral moments, not sudden fame, but real, tangible progress. You'll create something you're proud of. You'll have a conversation that opens a door. You'll receive feedback that confirms you're on the right track. You'll hit a milestone you weren't sure you'd reach. And each of those moments will build your confidence, will prove to you that you can do this, that you are doing this. You'll also develop skills you don't have yet. Skills that can only be learned through doing, not through more study or preparation. Skills like handling criticism without being destroyed by it. Skills like recovering from setbacks quickly. Skills like trusting your intuition even when others question you. Skills like completing things even when you don't feel motivated. These skills are what separate those who succeed from those who stay stuck, and you can't develop them by waiting. You can only develop them by walking. 6 months from now, if you stay the course, you'll look back at today as the day everything shifted. You'll see the trajectory change clearly. You'll be grateful you made the choice to move. You'll probably be amazed at how far you've come, and you'll wonder why you waited as long as you did. But you'll also have compassion for the person you were, the one who was scared, who wasn't sure, who needed to hear a message like this to finally break through the paralysis. A year from now, you'll be living a different reality, not a perfect one. You'll still have challenges, still have growth edges, still have moments of doubt. but you'll be someone who moves through those moments instead of being stopped by them. You'll have a body of work behind you, evidence of your commitment, proof of your capacity. And you'll have momentum that makes the next steps easier, that carries you forward even when the path is unclear. But all of that starts today. All of that begins with the choice you're making right now. Without this choice, without this commitment, a year from now you'll likely be in the same place, still waiting, still preparing, still hoping someday will come. Don't let that be your story. Let today be the beginning of a different story, the story of someone who heard the call and responded, someone who felt the fear and moved anyway, someone who didn't wait for perfect conditions but created momentum with what they had. That's who you're choosing to be right now. And that choice, that decision, it ripples forward into everything that comes next. It changes your trajectory. It alters your timeline. It opens doors that were waiting for this exact moment of commitment. So as we come to the end of this message, I want to leave you with one final thought. You were not given your gifts, your passions, your dreams, your calling by accident. They were placed in you intentionally. They were designed specifically for you. And they were meant to be used, not buried, not protected, not kept safe. Used in service, in the world, for others. That's why they were given. And every day you keep them locked away is a day of living below your design, below your potential, below your purpose. You were made for more than you're currently experiencing. You know it. You've always known it. That restlessness you feel, that sense that there's something else, something bigger, something truer to who you are, that's not dissatisfaction with your life. That's your purpose calling, and it's been calling for a while now. You've heard it, you've felt it, and you've been trying to quiet it because responding to it feels risky. But the risk of not responding is greater. The risk of getting to the end of your life and realizing you never did the thing you were made for, never used the gifts you were given, never stepped into the fullness of who you could have been. That risk is too great. So don't take it. Don't gamble with your purpose. Don't assume you have unlimited time to figure it out. You don't. None of us do. Time is the one resource you can't get back. You can recover from financial loss. You can rebuild relationships. You can learn new skills. But you can't reclaim time. Once it's gone, and you're spending it right now. The question is, what are you spending it on? Are you investing it in what matters, or are you wasting it on what's safe? Are you building towards something significant, or are you coasting through days that blur together? Are you living with purpose, or are you just surviving until the weekend? You get to choose. And the choice you make today sets the tone for how you spend the time you have left. However much that is, whether it's decades or years or months, you don't know. None of us do. What you do know is that you have today, you have right now. And right now is when the choice must be made. Not later, not eventually. Now, so choose. Choose movement over comfort. Choose courage over fear. Choose your purpose over your hesitation. Choose to start, even imperfectly, even messily, even while you're still figuring it out. Choose to be someone who honors their calling instead of ignoring it. And trust that when you make that choice, when you take that step, everything you need will be provided. Not all at once. Not before you need it, but in time, in the right time, at the right moment. You'll look back and see how it all came together, how doors opened, how people appeared, how resources showed up, how you were guided, protected, supported every step of the way. But you have to take the first step. You have to make the commitment. You have to stop waiting and start walking. And you have to do it now, while the window is still open, while time is still available, while the opportunity is still in front of you. This is Michael. I've delivered the message I was sent to deliver. The urgency is real. The time is short. The choice is yours. What you do next matters more than you realize. Move wisely. Move quickly. But above all, move.